This is Robert Marujo, editor-in-chief of Nintendojo, and this is our review of Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade for Nintendo Switch 2. And that is the last time I will end up saying the entire title like that throughout the review. The original Final Fantasy VII launched on Sony PlayStation back in 1997 and took the video game industry by storm. With stunning visuals, a clever battle system, and a gripping story, Final Fantasy VII was an instant classic, a game that is still talked about reverently to this day. When developer Square Enix announced it would be remaking Final Fantasy VII as a trilogy of games, the first question on the minds of many was, will it be able to live up to the legacy of the original? I can say definitively that the answer to that question is a resounding yes, thanks to the stunning visuals, a clever battle system, and a gripping story. And while that might sound like I have a case of deja vu, don't worry. While Remake certainly takes a lot from the original Final Fantasy VII, it does plenty to carve out its own identity and establish itself as one of the best RPGs ever made. Although Remake originally launched back in April of 2020, my copy of the game was stolen from my local GameStop during a string of lootings taking place at the time. Somehow, though, I've managed to avoid story spoilers for the better part of 6 years. While I was vaguely aware that Remake plays with the narrative of the original, the specifics were all new to me as I went through the game. Thus, it's with totally fresh eyes that I experienced Remake, from its story to its combat and everything in between. The basic setup of FF7 is that the evil megacorporation Shinra Electric Power Company is killing the planet Gaia with its Mako power reactors. While these plants suck the lifeblood out of the planet to power the city of Midgar and beyond, the resource will eventually run dry and wipe out civilization. Enter the activist group Avalanche, led by Barrett Wallace, who, with the aid of mercenary Cloud Strife, aims to destroy the Mako reactors, bring down Shinra, and save the world. However, joined by fellow heroes Tifa Lockhart, Aerith Gainsborough, and Red 13, the group quickly learns that the danger extends beyond Shinra to the maniacal former soldier and hero Sephiroth, who dreams of wiping out all life on Gaia in one fell swoop. Although Remake is the first game in a trilogy, its story feels complete, or as complete as an intro can be. It took me about 45 hours to beat the main story, and another few hours after that to play through the Yuffie-focused Intergrade expansion. While the core story of Remake is what fans remember from the original, as I mentioned above, it does deviate in several key ways, primarily regarding the idea of fighting fate. If you've played FF7 before, I can safely say Remake will still manage to leave you guessing as to who will live, who will die, and how everyone winds up where they are at the end. But beyond the twists and turns, Remake does a delightful job of making players care about its cast of characters. Everyone has standout memorable moments, and it doesn't take long before players are invested in what's happening and anxious to see the heroes come out alive. That said, Remake isn't perfect. One jarring bit of storytelling revolves around the cast's seeming obliviousness to Sephiroth, who appears like a specter throughout the story until finally materializing inside of Shinra headquarters at the end of the game. No one asks Cloud why he seems to be having bouts of disorientation, nor about Sephiroth, even after the villain shows up right in their faces. While I can admit that the denizens of Gaia would know someone as infamous as Sephiroth, it made no sense to me that Cloud's bouts of mental fog and the appearance of Sephiroth wouldn't at least prompt a passing comment. Visually, this iteration of Remake is every bit as impressive as it was on PlayStation 5, for the most part. The devs managed to take the pre-rendered backdrops of the original Final Fantasy VII and turn them into fully realized 3D environments without sacrificing any of the charm and personality that made the first game so memorable. This is a world that feels truly lived in. While the juxtaposition of clean, fresh-faced residents in the grimy, shattered rubble of the underbelly of the plates is a bit odd, I found myself nonetheless wholly bought into this dystopian world. The environments stagger the mind with the level of detail, character animations are fluid and realistic, and I often found myself sitting back and staring at the scenery throughout my playtime. Yes, things are perhaps not quite as crisp on Switch 2 as PS5, but the difference is minute enough that if this is your only way to play Remake, you aren't missing anything worth noting. I did have one instance where my character, Yuffie, clipped through the boundaries of the environment and fell to the bowels of the factory in the Intergrade expansion. Thankfully, I was able to make my way to a ladder that dipped down into the area, but it meant losing out on a number of fights to farm XP. It was a letdown, but the only notable one during my playthrough. As delightful as the story and visuals are, it's the combat where Remake shines. Gone are the turn-based battles of FF7, replaced with snappy hack-and-slash combat. Each playable character in the game has a unique playstyle. Cloud is a master of both the sword and magic, Tifa gets in close with melee strikes, Barret is a ranged tank, and Aerith is the ultimate spellcaster. Alas, Red 13 isn't playable, but his presence on the team as a support character still helps to round out the party. The key to being successful in Remake is switching between all of your heroes during battles. Inflict enough damage to raise an enemy's aggro, and then quickly swap to another character as your foe turns their attention to the hero you've just switched from. It's not only challenging, but it's also a clever way of getting the player to experiment with all of the heroes on their roster. I found every party member rewarding to play as, but never quite connected with Aerith as much as the others. You also can't play this game without mentioning the materia system, which allows you to customize your weapons, your spells, your abilities, not to mention the fact that you have a whole host of different weapons that you can equip for your characters and armor, opening up new materia slots and so on. It's an incredibly engaging combat system. The Yuffie episode Intermission expansion is a fun, albeit brief, introduction to the character and her whereabouts during Remake. Mixing ranged and melee combat, Yuffie is swift, powerful, and a joy to play as. It'll be fun balancing her with the others and finding out how she fits when she returns in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I do wish her story was longer than it is, but as an interlude it gets the job done. Beyond this, the Switch 2 version of Remake also comes with a number of boosts to help make the game easier for more inexperienced players. Thankfully, you can ignore all of it and play Remake without compromise, but the options are there for those who need them. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is a premier RPG experience that Switch 2 owners can't do without. Its story isn't perfect, and it's perhaps not as robust from a graphical standpoint as other platforms, but it is nonetheless an excellent, memorable game that I will return to time and again in the coming years. Nintendojo awards Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade an A-. If you enjoyed this review, please give us a like and a follow here on YouTube, and find us on our website and across social media as well.